Yeah, and it's time to do some Four Horsemen of the Technocalypse updates.
The Four Horsemen of the Technocalypse.
Anytime you see the Four Horsemen, it's something special.
Our first guy here is Bill Gates.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. Right into the vein.
Right into the vein.
Right into the vein.
And this is from Bloomberg.com, and the headline here: Bill Gates and the secret push to save Biden's climate bill. So Bill Gates had a hand in making this happen, because all the talk was that this climate bill was dead, but Bill Gates injected the breath of life back into it.
Yeah, interesting too, because there's a lot of praise given to Manchin, which I believe that's Manchin right there on the top of it. There. Manchin got all the credit. Biden got all the credit. Everybody else got all the credit except for Bill Gates. What a sneaky little guy.
What's going on?
Yeah. Tell us.
It says here, it was the middle of July with temperatures surging through one of the hottest summers in U.S. history, half of the country in drought, and the Senate's all-important member, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, had slammed the brakes on legislation to combat global warming. Again. That's when billionaire philanthropist and clean energy investor Bill Gates got on the phone with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, whose job it was to hold together the Democrats' no vote to spare majority. One of the world's richest men felt he had to give one of the nation's most powerful lawmakers a little pep talk. Quote, Schumer said to me on one call that he'd shown infinite patience, Gates recounted in an interview last week, describing for the first time his personal effort to keep climate legislation alive. Quote, you're right, Gates told Schumer. Quote, and all you need to do is show infinite +1 patience. Okay, weird. Gates was banking on more than just his trademark optimism about addressing climate change and other seemingly intraceable problems that have been his focus since stepping down as Microsoft's chief executive 2 decades ago. As he revealed,
I would like to comment real quick on +1. What was the term?
All you need to do is show infinite +1 patience.
I don't know exactly what that means, but it's kind of reminiscent of just straight up nerd culture, like Bill Gates's nerdness coming out. Because like if you're playing a video game or Dungeons and Dragons have gotten quite popular recently, you get a cool sword or something and it gives you +1 to something or other. It's kind of a nerd reference, which I think is interesting because he tries to be a cool guy so often.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. And plus, infinity +1 doesn't make any sense. So I guess that's part of the fun thing.
Maybe Bill Gates and Manchin are in a Dungeons and Dragons group together.
Gates was banking on more than just his trademark optimism about addressing climate change and other seemingly intraceable problems that have been his focus since stepping down as Microsoft chief executive 2 decades ago, as he revealed to Bloomberg Green. He has quietly lobbied Manchin and other senators, starting before President Joe Biden had won the White House, in anticipation of a rare moment in which heavy federal spending might be secured for the clean energy transition. Oh, so it's about money. Oh, okay.
And it's a long process too. The long play.
Yeah, he was already getting in line. We've talked about this. All the ESG, all that stuff is a financial move here. So,
and it's been planned for a very long time. It's not new. People are just now learning about it, but it is not new.
Yeah, especially, all the anti-Great Reset stuff, which I'm glad people are realizing, all that stuff. But there is kind of I don't know how to describe the feeling. I guess it doesn't matter.
I remember when you first started talking about ESG, it was probably 2017 or 18. And you brought some stories to the show back when it was a shorter show about ESG. And I was like, what are you even talking? Why are we even? Why? Come on. This is so boring, man. We got to pack some punches into our half-hour show.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Yeah, interesting.
And you were going on these sort of meandering analyses of ESG like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's what we get.
That's what we get for going with the thing that gets punchy. Well,
paying attention.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think it's it's a little too late kind of thing. I feel like now that it's allowed to be bashed on by the general public, it's
it's too late. By the time everybody else knows about it, it's too late.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because of folks like this, and stuff happening now is, just an after effect. Okay, so it says, continues here, those discussions gave him reason to believe the senator from West Virginia would come through for the climate. Yeah, not for his bank account, for climate. He's going to come through. And he was
willing,
for
all of his investments.
Right. And he was willing to continue pressing the case himself until the very end. Quote, the last month, people felt like, okay, we tried. We're done. It failed. End quote, Gates said. Yeah. Quote, I believed it was a unique opportunity. So he tapped into a relationship with Manchin that he'd cultivated for at least 3 years. Quote, we were able to talk even at a time when he felt people weren't listening.
And you know what that means. Cultivating a relationship with Gates.
Yeah.
Know who else was cultivating a relationship with Gates? Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that guy.
Cultivating that relationship got him a divorce. I wonder what, and cultivating this relationship with Manchin got him probably some nice returns on his investments.
Yeah. Let's see. Few had any idea at this time that talks remained open at all. In addition to Gates, an ad hoc group of quiet Manchin influencers sprang into action just when climate legislation seemed out of reach. Schumer's office credited the bill's passage to persistence and otherwise declined to comment. Colin O'Mara, chief executive officer of the National Wildlife Federation, recruited economists to assuage Manchin's concerns, including representatives from the University of Chicago and the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Senator Chris Coons of Delaware brought in a heavyweight former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers, who spent decades advising Democrats. It goes on and on here, and it talks about
I think we get the point.
Yeah, it brings up Schumer and Biden, and so
the point being for me when I hear this story is, this whole thing where these politicians like Manchin and Schumer and Biden are taking credit for saving the earth through their infrastructure bill. When you have Kamala Harris coming out giving speeches and tweeting about how Dems are so cool, they got something done. In reality, it's the corporate lizard overlords that come in and actually get things done.
Right.
It just really shows the spiritual backbone in the whole movement that expresses itself in policy really comes from the businessmen, the billionaires, the corporate overlords.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just to kind of keep the theme of Bill Gates working outside of any normal humans, lanes, I guess, to make things happen for the climate or his pocketbook or the Great Reset or Klaus or whatever.
Right.
Something that I noticed that was interesting. This is from news18.com. And the headline here was Indian philanthropist Ashish Dhawan appointed to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Board of Trustees. And, people just seeing this, they might be like, all right, a rich Indian dude is on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Board of Trustees. All right, whatever. Not a big deal, right? But if you think about the current geopolitical climate, it's really interesting because, of course, this was back in August 11th when this was published from Business Insider. The headline here, India's getting around sanctions against Russia by using Asian currencies to buy Russian coal. So I won't get into the article, just the bullet points here. Indian companies are switching from the US dollar to Asian currencies to buy coal from Russia. They've used the Chinese yuan, the Hong Kong dollar, and the UAE dirham in recent weeks, per Reuters. India has become a large buyer of discounted Russian energy due to sanctions over the Ukraine war. So they have 20x'd their imports from Russia. Mm-hmm. So they're basically not complying with the whole U.S. sanction against Russia, yet Bill Gates is allowed to recruit one of the richest, wealthiest men out of India for part of his board of trustees.
There's that story about, I believe it was Boris Johnson at the time, kind of scolding India because when it comes to the sanctions put on Putin, all these people agreed, all these countries agreed to, put sanctions on Putin. But India has been basically funding Russia's war in Ukraine through petroleum purchases, through not gasoline. What am I thinking? Oil, or just oil purchases that they're running through Asian currencies. So they're basically have taken the side of China and Russia in this New World Order 3.0, thing. So yeah, to have some, you can call this guy a representative of, the Indian economy that is fueling the war in Russia, which we know it's not like nobody doesn't want it fueled. So if they all want it fueled, it's a moneymaker for everybody. Somebody's got to do it. And India's been doing it. And I think it shows in the fact that, one of the sort of titans of industry of India participating in funding Russia's war is allowed to sit on a board of Bill Gates companies. Or what is it, a company, or is it the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? It's
the foundation.
Yeah. Even more so.
Even worse. Yeah. Not just a company, but just this whole thing. So and we didn't bring it last episode, but basically Bill Gates raised about $750 million, I believe, for Terra something, a company that's doing nuclear energy and nuclear medicine to look for cancer cures. He's working with South Korea, and he's always kind of been in Asia, but looking at the moves taking place, it's very interesting to watch, because he knows the infrastructure is being forced to change to this green stuff, or at least, he's part of the regime that's trying to change it.
Who, Bill Gates?
Yeah, Bill Gates.
Oh yeah, he wants it to.
Yeah,
he
of course.
has nothing but money to make.
Right. So it's just fascinating how, because of that, he's just not allowed. I mean, he's allowed to not be affected by any of the geopolitical things happening. He's above it all, So
yeah.
Very fascinating to watch. But there you go. That's one horseman doing his bidding.